Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another predictions video, and in today's video I'm going to be predicting the Fundora versus Booker fight. And so if you are new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so, like the video if you do indeed like the video, and let's get straight into it. So going into this fight, it's a bit of a interesting contest to be seeing. Obviously we were meant to see Fundora versus maybe a Crawford was the original kind of rumoured name, and then a Zoo rematch was actually the original first mentioned name, and then that kind of went out the window, and then we saw everything that what happened with Zoo and Murtazaliev, and then Crawford was mentioned. That obviously didn't happen for whatever reason. We then saw Crawford versus Madrimov, then Spence Jr. seemed very likely that was going to happen, and to be fair, I was personally very excited for that contest. I thought, maybe it was a little bit unfair to give Spence Jr. a world title shot straight after the defeat to Crawford, but still, it would have been a contest that I would have been very interested in. I'm sure a lot of fans would have. This one, it seems like maybe they were just scrambling to get Fundora a name because he hasn't fought in a few months. It seems like he's been wanting to fight and he's been wanting to defend the title. Maybe he won the title somewhat fortunately. I mean, a lot of people thought that maybe if Zoo didn't get the injury that he did during the fight, he could have gone on to win the fight. But Fundora did what he had to do. When Zoo got the injury, he went and got behind his jab and fought at the mid-range and was able to stop Zoo from really being able to get in and do too much. And maybe that was down to the visibility of what you could actually see with all that blood going into his eye, but still, he was able to do what he had to do and was able to become world champion. And when he came in on a short notice, swapping out for Keith Thurman, nobody was really expecting him to be able to do much, especially after the loss that he suffered versus Mendoza. But it was full credit to him. He managed to turn his career around, and now he's the favourite coming into this one. And of course, this being for the WBC and WBO World Super Welterweight titles, there's a lot on the line for this fight. And against Chordale Booker, it's an interesting fight. Chordale Booker, the one kind of standout name in his career was obviously Williams. That was up at middleweight, and he got stopped first round knockout. He got beaten up and got knocked out of the ring, and it wasn't exactly the best of performances. That's one way of putting it, but it doesn't exactly, fill you up with hope as to why he deserves this title shot. And when you look at the names that he's kind of beaten since then, obviously he moved down to super welterweight, and he again hasn't really fought anybody of note. He's coming off a knockout victory against a bit of a tin can, to be completely honest. A tin can that had knocked out a few guys, but nobody really of note. And it's just not filling me with hope as to why he kind of deserves this shot. Maybe if you kind of were to ask Williams, would he have swapped places with Booker? Because obviously Williams has had to go down a bit harder of a route. He fought Hamza Shiraz, and he's not had it easy, and he hasn't been given that world title shot. But Booker's had it after losing via TKO in round 1 to Williams and not really fighting anybody of much note since. It's a bit of an interesting one. It's a bit of a weird matchup, but nonetheless, Booker still has a nice record on paper and does have a chance. He's a come forward fighter who wants to fight in close. He's going to pick his shots nicely, and he's going to be comfortable throwing his shots, and probably quite patient, and even probably under pressure he's going to be comfortable. But I do think Fundora is going to be able to win via unanimous decision. I feel like Booker won't be knocked out by Fundora. I feel like I would like to see a Fundora fighting in close again. Even though he has these really long levers, he's always just looked best fighting in close, in my opinion. And when he got behind his jab against Zoo, he looked like he was not putting his all into his punches. He looked like he was just pit-pat throwing his punches. He was point scoring, and inevitably it was why he was able to get the win. But when he is against somebody like a Booker, I think he could throw quicker than Booker. I think he could throw more convincingly in close. I think he can just look all round better in close, and I don't think Booker's super explosive, so I don't think that's something you have to look out for. He has got a decent level of power, but it's nothing crazy. So overall, I do think a Fundora win via unanimous decision would be probably the best bet. Do I feel like there is other guys around the division of the super welterweight division who could beat a Fundora and could become champion? Yes. Are there other fights I would like him to see, for him to fight next? Yes, Spence Jr., I would still love that fight, but it seems like that's unlikely. I don't know what's going on with Spence Jr. in his career. Obviously, he hasn't fought since Crawford, and I don't really know what he wants to do. Maybe the winner of Ennis versus Stanionis, that could be an excellent opportunity for Ennis to move up in weight if he does beat Stanionis and get the opportunity to fight and, become a world champion there and pick up 2 belts, and then people kind of have to fight him. That could be an excellent fight, or even just Bahachuk. I think that could be a good fight. Obviously, Bahachuk lost to Virgil Ortiz Jr. Again, Ortiz Jr. could be a good matchup as well, but Bahachuk, he's been looking really good, and he looked excellent against Ismail Davis. I know it wasn't the best of names, but that could still be a good fight, and he's still number 1 ranked guy. Yeah, that could be an excellent fight, and a couple of good fights on this card. Ramos Jr., he's somebody that I'm really looking at the moment and really interested in. Ramos Jr. is coming off the win versus Rosario, and that was an excellent victory, and I feel like he does offer something unexpected in his game and surprising, and so I'm going to be very intrigued to see if he can put on another great performance coming in after fighting Rosario about a month and a half ago. He's coming and fighting again against Guido Schramm, who isn't really the best of names or anything like that, but he's a good name to just have, to come and fight Ramos Jr. Maybe PBC were looking at this card and thinking maybe it's not the best of cards, maybe we need somebody, and maybe they asked him, or maybe he just wants to keep active. Either way, I'm excited to see him back. Also, Elijah Garcia versus Terrell Gorsha. Elijah Garcia was meant to be kind of some huge name, and then he obviously lost via split decision in his last fight, but return fight versus Terrell Gorsha isn't a bad fight at all. Gorsha's coming off a unanimous decision defeat to Adamis, but that win's only kind of aged well realistically, even after the draw versus Shiraz, because Adamis kind of proved that he can be a world champion. So I feel like that's a good comeback fight for Elijah Garcia to be able to prove that he's still, a very good name, and that was just a little blimp, a little mistake along the road. And so it's still a good card. I don't know if it's arguably one of the weaker ones that PBC has put on since pairing up with Amazon Prime. Maybe that's what's to expect now with these PBC cards, because a lot of the fighters, including Canelo, are now kind of moving over to fighting with His Excellency. Maybe PBC cards are going to get a bit weaker when the likes of Gervonta Davis isn't fighting on them, and fighters like that. We'll have to wait and see. But nonetheless, that is it for today's video. Hope you have enjoyed. Like the video if you did, like the video, subscribe if you are new, and thanks for watching.